Hi, YouTube. I hope you're doing good. I'm doing okay. I've been doing a lot of thinking about a philosophy I grew up around and hearing, like cause and effect, and like accidents don't happen, they're caused. I can't explain enough to people what we put out in the ether and being all connected to every human being, the feelings and the thoughts and the physicality of being connected to everybody's spirit like that through God, what that causes with other people. It's out there. If I think a bad thought, everybody may not pick up on it, but somebody's going to. It's out there. I can't stress that enough. People think, well, you know, what I do isn't going to affect anybody else. You're assuming it doesn't affect everybody else. If somebody bit me, what if somebody bit me and you felt it? You don't think that's possible? That's how this shit works here. Everything we do affects everybody else. That's a trip, isn't it? It's not something that any one of us can perfect to help the others and carry the burdens for everybody, but it's something that we need to be aware of and teach other people the truth of it all. What do you think voodoo is all about? There's physical voodoo and there's spiritual voodoo. I'm not going to name names and expose any more of the cult of it all or any one person in particular, but there's people glorifying things and ignoring things that affect every single one of us, like wars that are going on and people dying. And then you think within your life, when you're working your own job or doing the hard things that you have to do through your day, and you think to yourself, why do I feel like this? It's like, I can say, yeah, you can replace that big hole, that hurt spot, that icky feeling with the Spirit of God. And there's also a ignorance of, I believe, ignorance that people ignore the fact that there's two separate spirits that guide us, and if we don't know the good one that guides us on behalf of everybody, then we're following the destructive one that destroys everybody by that ignorance. And that's the importance of it all. I don't always like to say, hey, yeah, I am you and you are I, in that sense, spiritually. But it's a truth. It's a fact. Put your ego aside. You, unfortunately, as much as I am connected to me, as much as I am connected to you. And that's a deep connection. It's who we are, you know? Are you your brother's keeper? What are you keeping them from? What are you approving in his life for him by way of what you're doing? For me personally, I keep the laws of God that I know probably better than anybody else, aside from the ones that may know it on the same level and perhaps are using that knowledge of what is good for people against them because they don't know any better. They know you're connected. They don't care. But you don't know how connected you are. As soon as people care about that, you just can't go wrong. If you have that deep enough concern for everybody in the world, you either do or you don't. If you look at it that everybody can look in on your life at any given moment, which shouldn't be allowed, but the only one that has the right to do that is the Almighty Father, period. Nobody else has that right, unless it were an angel that he sent to guide us or something, or a human being on behalf of him with all goodness in their heart, well-meaning like that. So I ask you, what comfort do you bring into that whole situation for everybody? Do people leave your channel or your home or your mind or your heart feeling consoled or disturbed? So, because it is true. What I'm telling you is true. Like I said, I don't like it any better than you do. The fact that I am actually responsible for everybody. It's time everybody take responsibility in that respect. You'd look at life a whole lot different if you did. It isn't an alien invasion that everybody has to band against. It's the ones that are conducting the dark power, that force within people, and they don't even know they're being forced because they're being lulled into it. I get faulted a lot because I obey the laws of God, and then people have to point out any little thing that they perceive, whether it's right or wrong. They don't care. They'll stand on what they have been, let me think of the appropriate word. What they have supposed with their understanding about another human being, and they stick with it. And they won't change. Or if they do change, it's going to take a mental beat down to make somebody understand the error of their ways. See, I pray for people to have the life they deserve entirely. May the blessings of God be upon your heart, but moreover, may the guidance and the justice within the whole thing be upon everybody too. There was something else I was thinking in there. I'll get to it. I think there is going to be a little bit of an interruption, but it won't be a big deal. The water pump might come on. So, but anyway, yeah, I don't know. I'll get there. Doug was just choking in. He was born with bronchitis anyway, so yeah. Anyway, people just don't understand how deep it really goes. See, one thing I've noticed about people when they're untrue to their own hearts, and I've noticed this, it's very narcissistic, but they'll get on a tangent about how they are correct about what they're thinking and saying, and they won't back off to consider their words, or they practice their words ahead of time in opposition to the truth that their own hearts are telling them. But they talk fast and they spew this out. I have to turn it off. It's like, there's no excuses for what we know is right or wrong, regardless. Yes, it affects everybody. End of story. No excuses after that, but people will make them, and then they'll fault you because you know that, and you won't join in. No, I am not going to overlook these faults that we can control within ourselves. If I can do it, you can do it. Really. And it has a lot to do with, it's just okay. So maybe a narcissist doesn't have an ego. But is that what an ego actually is? Is the lack of connection with other human beings? That's a pride within itself, ignorance of the facts. What are we ignoring when we make excuses for going against the laws of God? You can't say you're carrying your brother's burden, because you're not. You'd be honest about it if you were carrying your brother's burden. It's like these people that sacrifice their children to Baal right till this day, with the excuse that they're involved in a holy religious war. And many people live in my country. What are you doing here? I don't have any clue. This land belongs to the red people. It always will, regardless of who says what. There's absolutely no justice. Where's the war for the 100 million people that were genocided here? And in Christian schools right up until the 1976, 30 miles away from me, a mother was put in a insane asylum just like her mother was before her, and the state took her children. These Native American women were not crazy. It was a way of the state taking flesh to work productively within their community under the guise of the Catholic Church. If you don't want to abide by the true Word of God, go be a Catholic. They'll absolve you of any sin. In fact, I would recommend that for all the Israelites too. Not the real ones, but the dark cabal that has always been there south of the Caucasus. If anybody has any doubts about the bloodline, and Jason from Archaics knows a whole lot more than what he's saying, but it's all with sources and documentation and charts showing people's migration, who met who, where'd they go, and everything else. Languages, and he knows too that early Christianity wasn't in Jerusalem. It was in Ethiopia, if not even way before that. Was actually traditionally the first religion ever, So, and then people pretend, because like the Native Americans pay homage to the earth as a mother of that land, the earth and the sky father, but the Father of all, the Great Spirit, and then they fault those people for not believing identically to them. And these are a people, keep in mind, that not the North American Indians did not do sacrifices. What does that tell you? And if they took an animal, they used every bit of it for something, and it was all blessed by God. And other religions want to fault them. Yeah, a lot of them adapted into Christianity. My great-grandfather was a minister for the Ojibwe people, the Chippewa, most people call them. But, so yeah, it makes a difference what we do and think in our life. Everything. So how can we minister to other people if we truly aren't walking tall? You know? You have to. I mean, you can falter in an aspect or so, but we can't make excuses for it. We can't ignore something in the eyes of other people and pass that on to them as approved by the Lord. With your approval on behalf of a God that would lead people into stress that we feel on ourselves when we're not doing it right, you know? No matter who says what or how many people they are or whatever, I'm still going to stand what God tells me to do and what I know is to be true. No matter who says what, I'm not following the crowd. So when you're following the crowd with excuses, and you know the Word of God is written on your heart, you aren't putting your ego aside to carry your brother's burden. You are burdening your brothers or sisters with that. And they do have their own burdens to carry, and a lot of us do carry burdens for our brothers and sisters. You know, because we're aware of how that works. That's how the snake eats its own tail. Because it is unaware. Well, it itself isn't unaware of the cycle of it all. People within that are, mostly. I mean, you know it. It might be kind of subconsciously because people have been taught to set their bad ways aside and a supposed struggle with things that's okay in their lives, you know. So, and that is who they serve. That's just what people are doing, I guess, you know. Anyway, I just thought it was important to talk about because and back to the blessings on people. I wished for people to have like good times or weather or whatever in accordance to the purity of their heart. And that is real. That is the only way to pray for our brothers and sisters. And if they don't want to do it according to the laws of God, then that's not their father, you know, putting it bluntly. If you don't want to. If you do want to, then we help each other, and that's helping with a burden for real, you know. Like people have straightened me up, you know, and I can't argue with it, and I don't. When I'm told something through the Spirit of God and other people, I face it. I don't go, oh, blah, 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 but this or that. And it's like, no, I screwed up in front of everybody and now I'm going to face it. You know? And make it right. God will give us the words to make whatever we have done. He'll give us the words. But if we try and speak for ourselves, it's the flesh that's speaking. And it's obvious to those of us that don't operate like that. You know? So who can see you in the dark? Well, God can, of course. And the people that carry the Spirit of God, we don't have a choice. I wish I did, but I don't. I mean, I used to be able to envision what people were going through, and I asked God to take that because it was just way too much, you know. But I feel it and I know what I'm feeling. So say if somebody has a nasty nature and they don't actually carry that shame for that, or the anger, or even a piety or a pride that's misplaced, because if somebody's not standing tall, you can have a certain amount of pride, but is God praising you for your actions? And then people know within their hearts whether or not that's true. You know? We just know. So say a narcissist that doesn't have that compassion and connection for other human beings. And it was said that it used to be that most men were narcissists. Not most. Most narcissists were men. And now it's 50-50 that half the women are narcissists and half the men are narcissists. But that's, you know, scriptorial. Their hearts have waxed cold. If you're not connected to human beings and you're cold, is that the Christ Spirit? Sounds like a different spirit to me. I can get angry. Anybody can be angry. But cold? Nah. No thanks. That's some stupid shit there. That's just my outlook on it all. Like I say, if I don't feel supposed man of God giving me water and bread, more like wine and porn nowadays, but if I don't feel comforted after going to that church, it's like, wow, why did I even go there? What is this? This isn't helping me carry my burden. This is they're putting their burden on us. Something seems a little fishy there if somebody's professing to be a leader of any sort, you know. So I wish for people you get what you give. And that's a fact, one way or another. There's ones that do spell casting and ritual magic and different things to keep themselves covered through the promise of Baal and their little black cube and the rest of their bullshit. That's their father. They are interested in the flesh with their sex magic and their taking strength from or whatever they can get from other people for themselves because of their supposed position of strength and goodness and righteousness within the world under the name of murder, you know, the first murder. Anyway, y'all are gonna find out about that too. That's coming up. I recommend everybody to watch the Lineage, Our History and Chronology. That's irrefutable, with Jason from Archaics. What he put together last night, under 3 hours, explains everybody's migration. In short, it goes deeper, and he knows it, and I know it, and the rabbinical community knows it too. You know, that's why I have a distrust and a disdain for like Israel News Live, because he's read enough English in correlation with the Hebrew that he knows the discrepancies within even the King James Bible. You know, and that brings me back to the Ethiopian Bible, that yes, there's English translations, and I had said Gideon's Bible that I translated had to learn. It was the Kolbrin Bible, which they can't canonize for some of the truths that are within there. There's some texts in our history and truths that are withheld from us to keep us ignorant and to keep our souls unsafe and peaceful. You can't acquire peace within humanity if you don't know the whole situation and how it works, you know. So people can use their magic and their voodoo against you, and even having you do it against other people because of the ignorance and pride. I wasn't even going to talk about it, and then I thought, well, you know, maybe I should, because I've been through it too. It's like, well, I go to the depth of my heart, and I don't make excuses for my faults. I just don't. But if you talk fast, if I say something, and I know because of the righteousness of my heart, when I hear something untrue in another person, and then they talk fast and keep talking to support their narrative, to self-confirming. You're not God confirming or the Spirit of God confirming, you're self-confirming. I'm not teaching what this world expects out of me. That's not my leadership. My skills and my strength comes from God and God alone. And I don't leave any room for any doubt in anybody's heart or mind. If that occurs, you are not in touch with the Spirit of God. So, I don't mind carrying a burden for anybody. I don't need extra burdens by way of, well, and then I heard somebody say, why, you know, what's with the punishment? It's not punishment when you put something into the atmosphere that comes back to you because you put it out there to begin with. We got to stop blaming God for what we do in life. I'm not saying if something bad happens to you that it's exclusively because we've been stupid, but it does play a part in it. And you need to consider that for yourself. Stop blaming God for what Satan's doing to you. And that's all I can say on that. So I'm going to leave it there. I love everybody. I hope you have a really good night or day wherever you're at. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA.